This is the story of Princess Gwenevere and the Jewel Riders. Let's begin now. Once upon a time, enchanted jewels, travel trees, flying dragons, fairies and witches, elves and goblins, unicorns and giant wolves all lived in a land called the Kingdom of Avalon, created by the wizard Merlin. One might think that this is a tale from the past, but in this story, we don't start with once upon a time, so why not imagine that Gwenevere, Fallon, and Tamara live somewhere in this world, in our time, and in the evening, once their mission is accomplished, they all dance in a disco. When the wizard Merlin discovered the unknown lands of Avalon, he saw that they were criss-crossed by currents of wild magic which, by concentrating in certain places, had given birth to magic jewels, capable of transforming that wild magic into positive energy. Merlin decided to divide the lands of Avalon into 7 parts, each protected by one of the magic crown jewels he had stored in a jewel box. Then the wizard created the travel trees and divided them into each of the 7 parts. They could transport the jewel riders, that is, the defenders of the kingdom, from one place to another in Avalon. Jewel Quest. Not everyone is satisfied with this order created by Merlin. Kale, the sister of Queen Anya of the Kingdom of Avalon, dreams of one day owning the jewel box. Luck seems to smile on her when Rufus and Twig, her 2 faithful dweezels, find a new stone born of wild magic. With this stone, Kale intends to get rid of Merlin. However, in the gardens of the Crystal Palace, the residence of the rulers of the Kingdom of Avalon, Merlin explains to Gwenevere the duties that await her in her role as princess. The young girl will soon be part of the Jewel Riders, like her friend Tamara, and she will have at her side an animal, an inseparable companion. Far from the Crystal Palace, in a secluded corner of Avalon, lives a family of unicorns. In this family there is young Sunstar who, despite a pair of splendid wings, is afraid to fly. Don't forget that you are different from the others, and that one day you will have everything you want, her father tells her, while her siblings laugh at her. But let's go back to the Crystal Palace, where Gwenevere and Tamara joined the young Drake, strapping paramour of the princess, and their friend Fallon. Both are jewel riders, and have as bonded animal companions the giant wolf Thunder and the splendid unicorn Moondance. The 4 friends talk about the big party tomorrow, Guinevere's Circle of Friendship ceremony. However, Merlin, after a bumpy trip through the wild magic, meets a scared fawn, locked in a magic bubble. What sort of magic is this? In reality, it is a trap. The fawn suddenly turns into a monster, which locks the poor magician in the bubble and disappears. Kale, triumphant, then shows the trapped Merlin the jewel box. Rufus and Twig stole it for her from Merlin's house. Now Kale threatens to banish Merlin into the wild magic forever if he doesn't give her the key to the box. But when he is about to give it to her, a hawk grabs it with its beak and disappears. Furious, Kale casts a spell on the bubble, blowing it away from Avalon in a current of wild magic. The next day, in the Crystal Palace, everything is ready for the ceremony that will make Gwenevere a jewel rider. But Merlin is not there, and the king, worried, sends his daughter, accompanied by Tamara and Fallon, in search of the magician. Meanwhile, Drake searches the surrounding area with the other members of the pack. Merlin was never tidy, but the mess the girls discover in his house is very suspicious. Gwenevere and her friends believe it was due to malicious visitors. Suddenly, they discover Archie, the magician's faithful owl, tied up and unconscious. "Oh, poor me," Archie laments. "I was making tea when two creatures entered. After that, I don't remember anything." But let's return to the hawk that stole Merlin's key. Pursued by Kale in her flying dragon wagon, he has no other solution than to give this key to Sunstar, who he encountered in the forest. But Kale arrives and captures the unicorn in her dragon wagon. But Gwenevere, Tamara, and Fallon are there to stop Kale from escaping. Tamara sends a beam of energy from her heartstone at Kale. Gwenevere tries to free the unicorn, but she runs out of time. The beam sent by Kale is too powerful, and Tamara owes her survival only to the intervention of her little cat Spike, who jumped in front of Tamara to save her from Kale's magic blast. But poor Spike is in rather bad shape. As for Kale, she disappears on her dragon wagon. In order for the heroic little cat to regain consciousness, it is necessary to use an enchanted jewel circle to draw away the dark magic using the jewels of Tamara, Gwenevere, Fallon, and also of Drake, Josh, and Max. And good news, Archie managed to retrieve Merlin's key from Sunstar's horn. The Jewel Riders set out on a new mission. Gwenevere wants to free the winged unicorn, and the Jewel Riders ride the wild magic to Kale's forbidding castle Thornwood, surrounded by an impenetrable wall of brambles. Only Gwenevere and Tamara manage to get in. Sitting on her stone throne, Kale awaits the two young girls. By her side is Sunstar, but her freedom comes at a price. Merlin's key. "With the power of the crown jewels, I will rule Avalon," exclaims Kale. "Avalon will never be ruled by a heart as cruel as yours," Gwenevere replies. Gwenevere must, however, submit and give the key to her aunt. But it was futile. The unicorn was trapped in Kale's spell. "The spell wanted her to come back to me," Kale adds. But a bad surprise also awaits Kale. When she opens the jewel box, the stones whirl around and surround the image of Merlin, which has just appeared. "You endangered the peace of Avalon," declares the magician, "and until peace is restored, the 7 stones will return to their homelands." Furious, Kale unleashes an energy storm to destroy Merlin. But at this moment, Fallon, Drake, and the other knights have managed to cross the wall of brambles. As Drake rescues Tamara, who was almost hit by a ray thrown by Kale, a chasm suddenly opens, and Gwenevere finds herself separated from her friends. Sunstar is at Gwenevere's side, and only by riding the unicorn could Gwenevere cross this chasm. But will Sunstar be able to overcome her fear of flying? Gwenevere succeeds in restoring her confidence, and here Sunstar takes off with the princess on her back. While flying, it even allows Gwenevere to recover the jewel box, left next to Kale before escaping. Far from Kale, it's time to say goodbye for Gwenevere and Sunstar. "I will never forget you," the young girl whispers to the unicorn. "Me neither, princess," Sunstar replies. On her return to her family, the unicorn announces to her father that she intends to leave. "Listen to your heart speak and seek your way," her father replies. It is the day of the big ceremony. Gwenevere will be part of the Jewel Riders, and she will receive from the hands of the king her precious stone, the Sunstone. Unfortunately, the magic of the stone in front of the gathered assembly does not seem to produce any effect. The Sunstone should have indicated which animal among those chosen by the king would become Gwenevere's bonded companion. No magic spark appears between the princess and any of the animals. But something just happened. Gwenevere looks up and sees, in the distance, beyond the gardens of the Crystal Palace, Sunstar. She runs and embraces her, and understands what is happening. The flying unicorn is going to be her companion. Now the Sunstone splits in two, and shines on the young princess and on the unicorn.